podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to the Fanboy podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody to the Fan Film podcast, and my name is Robert, and here in the same room as me once again is my wonderful co-host Dave.
Sometime co-host. You've been cheating on me, motherfucker.
Oh, I've had a couple of wonderful guests lately. Yes, I had Melissa from the Brook Reading podcast. She helped me out with a Axanar, and that was a little bit controversial. We had the actual writer, director of Axanar say that we got some things wrong on that. So he might be coming on the podcast later to sort of clear up some of the things. I was just reading what I found on the internet, but apparently I got some things wrong.
Well, you know, you can only do what you can do with the research that you're given.
Exactly. So we'll clear some of that up on a later podcast. I'm not going to get into that too much right now.
I have to clear something up, though.
Absolutely. I was going to bring that up, yeah.
So on the last episode, I believe it was number 44, we released the...
My Precious. Yep.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings Hunt for Gollum fan film. And I said some things in there because it had been years since I'd seen The Lord of the Rings. I even mentioned there that I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but some of the facts about it I had gotten wrong. So I did a Wikipedia search. I did a few internet searches on ring wraiths and apparently, you know, in that universe or whatever, but in the movie you can see ring wraiths. Everyone sees the ring wraiths, and I said that he shouldn't be able to see them.
Yeah, we had a big conversation about that. Yeah,
because he didn't.
And I was wrong probably too on that.
I was wrong. No, you just went with what I said. You're like, yeah, that sounds right. He sounds confident enough to know exactly. I was wrong. I was I was completely wrong in a lot of the things that I said in that, but I still don't think it affects my critique too much. I think I would have to maybe bump it up, my grade up just a little bit because of that one thing. But there was other things that I had issues with. Yeah, well, no,
you were one of the things that you pointed out about the film was that you weren't a big fan of the sound and the quality there and stuff like that from the post-production. So definitely, I mean, I understand what you're saying. And,
that was my biggest knock was the sound quality.
Exactly. So, but definitely, thanks for clearing that up. And I know that we want to make sure that we're as accurate as possible. So
we strive for perfection here on the Fan Film Boys podcast.
Exactly. So that leads us on to what we're going to be talking about today. And that is a fan film that is in the Star Wars universe. We do a lot of them, and that's probably because there is a lot of Star Wars movies, or fan films anyway. We're going to be talking about Siren of Dathomir.
It's one of the largest fan bases out there, so it makes sense.
Definitely. Now, the fan film is a little bit different this time, though. It's not so much a fan film as it is a motion comic, web comic.
That only got one episode in the past 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's very different in terms of it's not actors and actresses playing parts. It's all drawings. The actual artist of that is Joe Hogan. I'm going to go into a little bit of information about Joe in just a few moments, but basically he came up with this while he was doing other projects. He started off as just a fan of Star Wars, as a lot of us all are. He then was lucky enough to work really, really hard, and he is now officially a Star Wars licensed artist. So he can work and draw in the Star Wars galaxy officially for conventions and stuff like that.
Which now explains why he can't do fan films with the Star Wars license, because... Yeah, technically.
Because now he's official.
Right, it's not sanctioned. So it's why there's only one episode of it, even though there's a trailer for subsequent episodes after.
Trouble Over Munilist, I think, is the next one that he was planning on making, and I just don't think he's gotten there yet. I've been in contact with him a couple of times when I was doing my Star Wars fan film blog, and that leads me into the fact that he was one that did a bit of art for me. I actually had him commission some art, and I've shown you a picture of it. Yeah. He did a picture of Obi Wan walking my son. I sent him some pictures of my son when he was younger. He drew me a picture of Obi Wan walking through the Jutland Wastes with my son. It's pretty cool. I'm going to put it up on the site and everything like that, and then in the show notes so people can see it. But I really like it. It was something that he did just for me and my son. My son really enjoys looking at it as well. It's up in his room, so it's actually pretty cool. So he's a great artist, and this really does show the range of some of the art that he does do.
Yeah, and it's definitely, he did. I think he brought his own style, but he also tried to make it fit with the Star Wars Clone Wars cartoon as well. So he had to like blend his own style with the Genndy Tartakovsky style, because that's the universe that this story exists in. So if you watch it, it doesn't really fit into the Star Wars universe proper as the Star Wars universe exists today, because the Genndy Tartakovsky series is now legend. It's now in the Legends line. It's not really canon any longer. So that's kind of where this exists, in that Legends line.
Well, that was one of his pillars of what he was looking to aim towards. I remember when I did have a chat with him about this at a previous time, that was something he was sort of aiming towards, was that style. And I know that at one point I even spoken with him. He actually reached out to the, and I'm not going to even bother pronouncing his name because I'll totally do a shit job at it, but he actually reached out to him and emailed him, sent him a copy of the webcomic, and he actually got a response back. So it was pretty cool. He said that was one of the highlights of why he did this, and what happened is that this guy said, this artist said, hey, you did a good job. It's very similar to the stuff that I do. And if everybody knows him, he's doing work on Hotel Transylvania's. He did all those sorts of movies and everything like that. So
awesome.
So this film has over 229,000 views on YouTube, and it has about 8.8 thousand likes. Now, I did the math, and I know we've talked about this before. It's not an accurate thing, but that's about 4%. So 4% of views...
4% of people liked it.
Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot more people. That's just people that bothered to click that little thumbs up.
4% of people felt the need to click something.
Exactly. So it is an unofficial motion comic based on a webcomic following the investigation of ARC Trooper Captain Fordo on the planet of Dathomir. Several clone troopers have gone missing, and the Republic has no idea, but there's a strange sound disturbance that might just be the explanation.
So, so if you're not familiar with who Captain Fordo is, if you go back and you watch the Genndy Tartakovsky series, I believe it's episode 2 or 3, that is when the ARC Troopers do the stealth assault on Munilist.
Yep.
He is the red ARC Trooper that is doing the stealth assault on Munilist, which is why the next one was going to be Trouble over Munilist, because it was kind of going to be a flashback of Fordo. And one of the things that I really liked, in this, Obi Wan gives him, when he returns from Dathomir, he gives him his Phase 3 helmet, which was like a big deal. That was when it's Phase 1 helmet that's in the Attack of the Clones movie, and then in the cartoons there's a Phase 2 that kind of comes in, and then the Phase 3 is where they have kind of like the Stormtrooper-esque like gas mask, it looks like, on the side and stuff like that, but he gets his Phase 3 helmet, and of course it's modified for him in the same way Rex got to modify his in the Dave Filoni Clone Wars series and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I liked the character. I believe he was also a character in the comics that you could follow in the comics as well. When Star Wars had their own Clone Wars line, that's also now Legends. It's not part of the canon any longer either. So,
well, he does a lot of work with Fordo, and a lot of his art is based around Fordo, and especially the ARC Troopers and stuff like that. He draws a lot of Stormtroopers, and he's obviously done a lot more than that, but that was one of the things that when I used to talk to him a bit, he did do a lot of those. And I know that this also ties into one of our earlier episodes when we did Hughes the Force. He was involved with Hughes the Force a little bit, did some of the art for that, the poster for the art for that. He did, Joe Hogan did that poster for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's how he got to know a lot of the voice actors from the Clone Wars.
James Arnold Taylor, who does Obi Wan.
Exactly. So that's how he got to know him from that, and that's how this all ties in together for this as well. So
now, did you see? Was it James Arnold Taylor who does the voice of Obi Wan in this cartoon?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. That he
we keep calling it a cartoon. It's not. It's a motion comic. But
yeah, he did, and that's all through that. What happened is, I might be, again, getting part of this incorrect, but basically when he was doing Hughes the Force, he was working with James Arnold Taylor. I know James Arnold Taylor does a lot of other work other than...
Tons of voice work,
obviously, this, but he has his own stand-up show, and I know Joe Hogan did a lot of art and a lot of work for his stand-up shows as well. And that's how he got sort of involved with having, James Arnold Taylor in there, helping him out, that sort of stuff. So they kind of helped each other out a lot. So that was one of the big things. And obviously, if anytime that you have the voice of...
Look at Star Wars being all incestuous and handing out jobs left and right.
I know. And I mean, he's even in talks, I believe, he's in talks for this new series that's supposed to be coming out pretty soon too. He's been involved a lot in the
Dave Filoni follow-up series to Rebels.
Yeah, I think he is. I don't know what he's going to be playing.
Concept artist and stuff like that. There's a lot of different, when you're talking about a cartoon, there's a lot of different artwork that goes involved. There's storyboard artists, there's concept artists, there's main artists, there's a ton of different ton of different avenues to go down. Sometimes they're just doing the concept art for the tiniest little details, like on a gun and stuff like that.
But you're getting paid to do it. So
that's right.
And now it's not a very long film, and I actually didn't write it down, but it was published in July of 2012.
It's 9 minutes and 55 seconds.
Okay, so I mean, but you have to consider that's a lot of art to put into a time frame like that. So
it is, yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, it's different than just having some actor come in and read some parts and stuff like that.
Well, we could talk to our friend Mark. He actually wrote his own comic and then commissioned the art from an artist and stuff like that. And when you're doing a comic book, it's 32 pages, but any number of those panels, that's a full page of art for someone to do. Each panel is a full page of art for someone to do.
That's a lot of work. I mean,
so it's a ton of work. Especially when you're doing 9 minutes and 55 seconds, if you put that out into a script, let's say that's roughly 9 to 10 pages of script. So you're looking at least 9 to 10 frames, probably in 30 seconds. So when you extrapolate that out over a long time, I'm sure my math is wrong in there, but he's drawing a lot.
Yes. and for one person too.
Right.
I mean, for one person, and then to put it all together and everything like that. So I really, really enjoy this film. From the moment it came out, again, I'm a big fan of Joe Hogan's art. Always have been. Again, going back to the commission that he did for me, and not only that, just from one of the first things when I was doing my short-lived Star Wars fan film sort of blog webpage sort of thing, he was always very friendly and willing to talk and everything like that.
So let's get into the fan film, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's start. What are your opinions? What do you think?
So, I mean, for me, I like it because my favorite, still, even though it's not canon, my favorite Star Wars animated thing ever is the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars series. Me and Fuzzy Dan talked about it when I was doing a certain point of view for Podfix Presents. The very last episode, we talked about Star Wars animation, and that was the first one we talked about, and me and him had a blast talking because we have such a love, not only for that series, but just for Genndy Tartakovsky, the creator of it alone. So the fact that it plays, and he's created Samurai Jack, Dexter's Laboratory, and a lot of other popular cartoons. But it was just something that like really me and Fuzzy both loved a lot. So the fact that it plays in that universe,
well, because it was the first cartoon animation since droids
and Ewoks
and Ewoks. Yeah,
the first thing of Star Wars animation was in the holiday special from 1978.
Oh yeah, well that was the introduction of Boba Fett.
That was not technically the first introduction of Boba Fett, but yeah, the first time he was ever on screen, technically. And his
that's a weird one too.
And his backstory changed after that. They ended up going a different direction by 1980 when Empire Strikes Back came out. But yeah, I don't enjoy that one. But the Clone Wars series I really did. So seeing like familiar characters in that style and in that vein automatically kind of like sucks me in a little bit because it's kind of like watching some sort of continuation of that series. It's
very different too. And I mean, we're going to go into that a little bit, of course, but we'll go back to the fan film in a minute. But the original Clone Wars, before what everybody thinks of as the Clone Wars, that Genndy Tartakovsky. Okay. His Clone Wars was really different in terms of its animation, and that's what sort of makes it that much better. That it's not a generic sort of the Clone Wars. Eventually, the Clone Wars was great, the series,
but the Dave Filoni series,
but the Dave Filoni series, but it was something that you could get anywhere almost.
But one of the things I liked even about the Dave Filoni series is like a lot of their art style took from the Tartakovsky Clone Wars series, like the just the shape of like people's faces and their beards and stuff like that, particularly like Dooku and Obi Wan and stuff like that. So even there's still even echoes of that in the Clone Wars. They also did like this. They wanted them to look like kind of like wooden marionettes.
Yes.
In the Clone Wars series, and that always threw me off a little bit. They kind of dropped that towards the later seasons in the Filoni series, but I still really enjoy the Tartakovsky one. And the nice part about it was when it came out, it was literally being sold as this is what happened between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And the story leads you right up to literally the second that Revenge of the Sith starts.
Yeah.
So that was one of the cool parts about it. Like it actually fit and it went right up to it. Where you couldn't say that about the Filoni Clone Wars because they didn't get that far. They ended up canceling the series before they got that far once Disney made their acquisition of Lucasfilm.
Now, I really enjoyed this film as well. Like I said before, the story is pretty cool too. I mean, it's basically a group of these ARC troopers that go to Dathomir. Now, if everybody knows Dathomir, that is from the Clone Wars, pretty much. It is the Witch's planet, right?
It's correct, but it's also the planet that Darth Maul is from and his brother Savage Opress. So there's a tribe of Zabrak that live there that are basically used for mating purposes with the Witches of Dathomir, and they're basically used like cattle. Like they're used to breed and they're used as warriors, and that's it. That's all they are, and that's where you got Savage Opress and Darth Maul from that tribe of men, and all of them have the tattoos like Darth Maul, where his is red, his brother's was yellow. There's
that's like given to them at birth, if I remember reading something.
Yeah. So they're not your average Zabraks, like you can see Eth Koth, who is a Jedi, who's a Zabrak, and he has hair and his skin is brown, and you can see like the indentations and stuff like that in his skin that make the same kind of designs as Darth Maul's, but they're not tattooed. So they're just kind of like indentations, and they almost look like scars, but they're not tattooed on him. So it's completely different. It's same species, different culture, pretty much.
Now, the Siren herself is very much, obviously giving away with the name, Siren is very much like from the Odyssey. This beautiful, temptress that is basically tempting anybody.
Who now they believe that men were drinking seawater or going mad and seeing manatees and jumping in and trying to make it with a manatee and drowning.
You have to be really desperate to do a manatee. I'm sorry.
What's your longest stint at sea?
Well, I actually worked on a cruise ship, so I was.
Were there ladies on that cruise ship?
There was ladies on that.
There
cruise
weren't
ship.
ladies on these ships.
Yes, on these ships. Yes. No. Okay, you're right.
They were eating rice with maggots.
Well, but it's very interesting in terms of the story. Now, I know some of the music is very original as well, which is really good. So the sound of the music and the voices and stuff like that.
So it's like the story is very simple. It's Obi Wan gives them a mission to go to Dathomir to find out why their men are missing. He gets there. Fordo's men immediately become entranced by the Sirens Song, get enslaved, imprisoned. Fordo, for some reason, isn't. Something about his programming, what makes him an ARC Trooper, is that he's given more freedom than the other ones. So the Siren Song doesn't affect him in the same way that affects the rest of the clone troopers. He goes in, pretends to be a zombie and takes care of biz, gets back and gets his new uniform from Obi-Wan.
Exactly. And like we said, there's trailers for ones that were supposed to be following up with this. Hasn't happened. Again, we know that, what happened with Joe Hogan was he's moved into, doing a lot of other stuff. So it's understandable, but it would have been interesting to see more. It's a one-off, but it's one of those things that with fan films, there often is one-offs. And then we're like, well, it would be nice to see more, but
I probably spent like 20 minutes looking around and all right, where's the next chapter? I see a trailer for chapter 2, chapter 3, but not there.
Yeah,
not exactly. there. Just these little trailers. And
just a little bit of a hunt, but nothing there.
But yeah, ultimately, I enjoyed it. There was a few things that I didn't like with the art of the siren, where it just seemed very very strange. There's like this green fire under her, and her body's like contorted and like weird things and stuff like that. And I thought there could have been like a little bit more detail in that. But other than that, like I really did enjoy the art and stuff, and of course the voice acting is pretty top notch in it. I also didn't like the Sirens Song. I didn't like that it sounded like a pop song.
Yeah,
like
it sort of takes away from the what is it? What could you say? It takes away from the Star Wars galaxy almost.
A little bit, yeah. For me, I would have, if I was doing it, especially since Star Wars is owned by Disney, I would have taken Ariel's.
That does. I mean, that sort of fits into that sort of what you're looking at there. Yeah, for sure.
But no, I mean, other than that, I mean, I'm not going to knock it too hard because I didn't like the song in it. If I did that for every movie, then
we can do that for every movie we see these days.
Exactly, because everything uses popular music in it now. So, but no, I ultimately really did enjoy it. So,
all right, excellent. So let's talk Five Fingers. How many are you giving this one?
See, for me, it's different because it's in the Tartakovsky universe for Star Wars, and I really dig the art. Like that those are the two big draws for me. The story is a very, very, point A to point B, and then it's over. And that's fine because I think, at 9 minutes, and with a character like Fordo, who's a stormtrooper, who's a clone trooper, it's not like you can really get into very big depths of his character.
Yeah, because he's doing what, I mean, as you said, he has a little bit more free will, but
not much.
He's still a clone trooper that they all come from the same stock.
But I mean, I would give it 4 fingers.
Yeah, I gave it 4 as well. I love Joe Hogan art, but I really think he did a great job on this. As you were saying, everything in terms of the voice actors, the story, it's a point A to point B, like we talked about. But in this sort of story, it's needed. Yeah. You don't want to go into too much of a depth because then he's going to be drawing a bunch of more pictures that may not even be needed. So it was really good. So I gave it a 4 as well.
All right. Do we really need to? We don't really need to get into source material for this one because we kind of peppered that all the way throughout.
Yeah.
So what I want to update people on is I gave you homework after watching Red Sand, the Mass Effect fan film.
Yes.
You were supposed to play Mass Effect 1. How far are you in Mass Effect 1?
Well, I'm not the best of video game players. So I'll start off by saying that. Now, I am enjoying the game. I mean, really am.
Do you have it set to easy just for the story?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
100% too.
It's not a usual first-person shooter like some of the other games that I've played.
Right. It's an over-the-shoulder third-person shooter Western RPG.
So yeah, exactly. So it's getting used to that style of play that was a little bit hard for me. Right. I have played some other first-person shooters, and this was a little bit different from that with the interactions you do with the other characters.
You'll probably like the second one better because this one does the old BioWare style of Knights of the Republic where before you get engaged in action, it stops the play and you have to select your actions. And if you want to, select your party's actions and stuff like that, who they're attacking, everything like that, whether you're going to use, your gun or a biotic ability.
And that was the hard thing to try and get used to is not
because
just
games aren't like that
exactly
anymore.
Not just picking what you're doing, is picking what the other people like. Right. I'm used to playing with maybe other people and they make their players do what they want. But
if you level up your party well enough, then you can kind of let them do their thing. And you can just worry about your actions and stuff like that. Sometimes they might get you in trouble, especially if they get stuck in environment and stuff like that. But you can't really help that. It's it's the first Mass Effect game. The second one, much more traditional, kind of like third person shooter. You still have the RPG, branch system where you're leveling up and stuff like that, and you still get to make your own decisions in the story. But the action is much more point and click. It's much more like, right button to shoot, this button to dive, that button to use your biotic ability and stuff like that. You can pause the play and select your things like you could in the first one, but you don't have to. If you just want to run and gun it, you can. So you might get along with Mass Effect 2 better than Mass Effect 1. And Mass Effect 2 is probably arguably the best one of the series too. So
now I am liking, though, one of the things, especially after we did our Mass Effect Red Sand episode,
you start on Mars,
is that you start, and it tells. I really like the whole idea of how it tells a story. A lot of games, you're getting the story. There's not much. You escape from here, get to there. blow this up, shoot that, and move to the next level, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
This tells a lot more, like when it stops at certain locations, and like you said, you have to, choose A, B, C, D, what your action wants to be. It's leading into something different in terms of the story. So if you choose A over C, you could end up theoretically going a completely different way. And I know that you talked about that in that episode as well, but I really am enjoying that because it makes the game almost original to you.
It's your game, right?
Yeah.
Which is why it's so tough for them to have made a Mass Effect film, because you can't really use Commander Shepard in a Mass Effect film, because whatever story they tell in the Mass Effect film, then that means if it doesn't fit in line with my story, that means my story is kind of like null and void. That's the official story right there. Like there it is on screen. If my story doesn't count anymore, their official story, which is one of the big problems with it. So to do a Mass Effect film, you would have to actually take it out of that Shepard world and kind of
do something else, do
something maybe in the Mass Effect universe, but not necessarily that story.
And then how popular would it be if you did that? Because if you don't have Shepard, who's the draw,
exactly,
where is it gonna?
So let's go through your selections. Did you choose Shepard male or Shepard female?
Shepard male.
Did you use the preset face or did you create your own face? Did you make yourself in the game? Because I'm a big egomaniac.
I didn't do that. I did a random face. Yeah.
Okay. I always make myself. I try to make that character look as much like me as possible.
No, I didn't do that. I wanted to get right into the game. I'm sure if I was to maybe start it again and do it again, maybe. But I was really more just wanting to get in and start playing and start with the actions and stuff like that.
Renegade or Paragon, good or bad?
I went the good side. Yeah.
Okay, so you make mostly Paragon decisions and stuff.
Yep.
There will be times where you're tempted, believe me.
Yeah.
I remember punching a reporter in the face at Shepard. And it was the Renegade option, and I was like, do I do it? Yeah. And I think it was the one Renegade thing I did throughout and I think there was one other choice where it might have been the second one, where it's like, shoot this guy. And the guy was like, he was clearly lying to you and stuff like that. And there was ways to do the dialogue tree. You can find out that he was lying. I was like, fuck this. Shot him. And everyone's like, you can't do that, Shepard. It's like, I just did. And then also you get to pick your backstory. So were you a colonial or were you an earther or were you a military brat, like a spacer?
I was a colonial.
Okay. So you came from a colony that was destroyed by the I guess it was the Geth or the...
Yeah. And they're the ones that, in the very beginning, he's the one that sends you on the first mission, I want to say, but you're meeting the bad one of him. Is that right? Not of his species, though, not of him, of his species.
Right. Yeah. You meet Saren on Mars, and he is the kind of like the big bad. He is the renegade specter that you are going to be charged with hunting down throughout the rest of the game. And it's a fantastic story. So it's a lot of fun. Did you make it off of Mars, or are you still on Mars?
No, I'm still on Mars. That's like
the first 20 minutes of the game.
I know, and I had a lot that's happened recently that out in the real world, my sister-in-law is getting married, so I've had to go to a bachelor party recently, and in Ocean City, Maryland, my wife went to the bachelorette party in AC. So between this, and then the wedding itself is a destination wedding in Aruba, getting everything ready to go to there. It's just, and summer now as well. So my wife and kids are off, so having a chance to actually sit down and play a video game at home when they're sitting around wanting to watch TV, it's not really going to happen. Benadryl for the kids, wine for the wife, and then you sit down and play. Put them all to sleep. No, I mean, one of the benefits of being so hot here in New Jersey and Pennsylvania recently is we have a pool that I've set up in the backyard. They've spent a lot of time in the pool during the day while I'm at work, so it does wear them out, so they are going to bed a little bit earlier than they used to. Nice. So I probably within the next week or so, I'm going to be picking it back up again. Good, because in subsequent episodes, I'm going to follow up with you and ask, because it's absolutely my favorite video game series of all time, and I always love introducing new things to people and stuff. So I definitely would like to see your progression in it, and kind of want your thoughts. And I like picking people's brain about this game to see what decisions they made, where they went with it. Because you've played it yourself, and you've probably picked a totally different way that I might end up going. And I mean, there might be something that I might end up doing that I played it 3 different times and played it 3 different ways. Exactly. So, all right, perfect. So one of the things I want to do right now is that just recently we are members of the Podfix network of podcasts. And just recently, there's been a couple of new podcasts that have actually joined the network. So I want to take a moment just to introduce some of those new podcasts. I don't have a promo for them just yet. I will be running some other promos for some other shows in just a few moments. But I just want to talk to everybody about a couple of these new podcasts. The first one that I want to talk about is the Filmmakers Podcast. It is a English podcast. Pretty cool. They do have quite a few episodes out these days. They're really, really technical about filmmaking. They go into a lot of detail, but they're really interesting. They do have some great episodes. One of the episodes I am just really recently listening to is, I believe, episode 15, and they're actually talking about, and it is actually, episode 15, how to make a Superman fan film. They actually went into a lot of detail with the filmmaker about his contact with Warner Brothers for this film, because he was actually brought on to make this so that Warner Brothers could start introducing its sort of policy for fan filmmakers, sort of what they could do, what they couldn't do.
Because they were one of the big companies that was being staunch about it, right?
Yes, they were big. Like
where
Marvel,
like Star Wars and Star Trek was like, here's our universe, play with it, have fun, don't make money.
Don't make money, yes. but yeah, just go ahead here. And I mean, Star Wars even like introduced like a library of its sounds that you can go on and actually use them in your films. You can actually go to a site.
And those are all Ben Burt sounds.
Yeah.
And so for sound editors, that's like a holy grail of
and you
sound files.
You can go and that's why a lot of the Star Wars fan films that you see are very consistent in terms of their sound effects and stuff like that. The sound effect of a lightsaber starting up.
Right, because now it's not some guy ripping an MP3 off of YouTube of like what a lightsaber sounds like. And it's been filtered 6 different times.
It's actually, people can go and actually get this stuff. So this was one of those test ones that sort of Warner Brothers was kind of saying, here, do this, but you can't do this, that, and the other, and last of all, spend as much money as you want, but you can't make any money. So go ahead.
They know of. I only have to claim it on my taxes, whether they know I make money or not.
But it's a good episode. So I'm really enjoying it. So I wanted to welcome them to the Podfix network. The other one that joined not too long ago was Into the Portal.
Yes.
I know you listened to Into the Portal, right?
I was listening to Into the Portal. Yeah, I like history. I also I always say alternative history, but not alternative history as in like these things didn't happen, but they could have. I mean like it's like the odd bend of history,
something
like
deeper,
the strange things that happened, and the deeper implications of them and stuff like that. Like let's listen to like one about like a lost army in the in North Africa in the desert and stuff like that, and there's like all these different theories from different archaeologists and stuff.
And that's what I really like about them too.
What happened?
They do share multiple sort of theories and ideas. It's not like they just go into it saying this is the answer to that. This is where that lost army is or whatever. They're really, really cool. I enjoyed it. They're one of the most recent ones was on the Bunyip, which is a Australian sort of folk sort of cryptid. That sort of stuff. So really, really interesting stuff. I am actually working with them for a Podfix Presents, so stay tuned, everybody. But we're actually working on a...
and you guys are going to uncover the mystery of the drop bear.
So they probably will do that one pretty soon, I'm pretty sure. But we're going to be working on a historical type... very similar to in the vein of what you were just saying, something different about history than what you might have read in a textbook. So,
because the founding fathers were some fucked up dudes.
Oh, that's who my first topic is going to be on, a founding father. So, very interesting. So, stay tuned for some more information. I'll be sharing that a little bit later. And then, last of all, again, I do want to welcome them as well. And then, last of all, the last one I want to welcome. There's two more. Sorry, the Scooby-Doo Justice Project.
Yes.
With Ralph Cramp.
Ralph Cramp is a ridiculous, amazingly talented guy who never breaks character ever. And the idea of the Scooby-Doo Justice Project is all the original.
I think the idea is like genius.
Yep, all the original episodes of the Scooby-Doo TV show from the 1960s or 70s.
Yep.
It takes all those. He's trying to. He works for a group that is trying to exonerate all the villains.
All the villains are really what his premise is that all the villains are actually framed for what they're doing,
right?
And he'll pick apart the show
by Freddy to sell the brand of the mystery,
and he'll pick apart, and he'll also share on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, he'll share like images and show, hey, is this somebody, this is the picture of the villain in a ghost costume, and this is the picture of the villain, that outside of the costume. How is that possibly the same person?
He was a fat man. How was he a skeleton?
Exactly. That sort of stuff. But he does, like you said, stays in character the whole time.
Yeah.
It is just like, it's a bit of a take off all of the true crime out there these days, the true crime podcasts, that it's just really genius because everybody loves Scooby-Doo. And to actually have somebody from the other side saying, no, Scooby-Doo the mystery gang were a bunch of like scoundrels.
It's having fun with it, and that's what I really like.
Yeah. And last of all is Fan Counters Podcast. They are one of the most recent ones that just joined. They are on Twitter at Fan Counters Live. They interview celebrities about their encounters with their fans, the fun, the scary, and the downright creepy.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun because I've met celebrities, but I didn't gush over them. But I think that's one question. I was like, what's the weirdest thing?
Oh yeah,
like anyone's ever done. Like, and they'd be like, oh, I don't know, some guy shaved off his armpit hair and gave it to me in a sandwich baggie, and it's like,
well, they've got some pretty big name celebrities on there as well.
So they had an Olympian on there.
Yeah.
I see currently their most recent episode. They have Kristen McQuaid from Dance Moms. So.
Yeah, no, I'm not a big Dance Mom person. So.
Neither am I. But
she probably has some stories.
I'm sure. Yeah. So it's very. They also have some big name people that have been on there discussing some of the strangest things that have happened to them in their fan counters. So it's a lot of fun.
So check out all those podcasts along with all the other great podcasts at podfixnetwork.com. Just going to take a moment now, a couple of quick promos from some podcasts from some Podfix podcasts as well as some other podcasts as well. So we'll be right back.
Greetings and salutations, this is Fuzzy Dan from Who Spiked the Puns. Each week, with the help of some of my special friends from around the internet, we'll be mashing together two disparate movies to make something unexpectedly awesome. This is the podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously, because everybody knows fat puns don't fly. Find me now on whospikedthepuns.com or on a podcatcher near you.
Hi, my name is Melissa, and I would like to introduce you to a little something I call the Brooke Reading Podcast. Each week, I read and discuss a novel, rate and review it, and tie in any movie or television iterations. If you would like to join in the discussion, you can find the Brooke Reading Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or direct downloads on Libsyn.com. Happy reading!
Hello, all you curious creatures out there. I'm Amber Ray.
And I'm Andrew McKay, and we are the hosts of Into the Portal.
If you like myths, legends, history with a paranormal twist, join us every week as we explore lesser-known mysteries of our world and beyond.
You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, and all other major podcast platforms, and at intotheportal.com, your gateway to the bizarre.
The only question is, do you dare peer into the portal?
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Well, nerds, geeks, and newcomers alike, we're the Shaken Not Nerd podcast, where each week we review movies and video games and discuss what's going on in the nerd world. With me, as always, is my co-host, Ian the Huge Footlong Johnson. Hey, babes. The Tom. Hello there. And Ollie, also known as Big Red. Hi. And I'm your host, Duty Dutram. And this is us.
About 5 minutes beforehand, I was talking to my friends, being like, if they make me say I love Harvey Norman, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. The second they said, I'm like, I love it, Norman! Fresh out! I'll suck it dick! I'll suck it dick for what it's around!
Pink just released a new album, which apparently is really
Thank
good.
God.
Title purple.
Pink, right? No, two in the.
Where can people find us, guys? Why are you looking at me this time?
Well, I do believe you can find us on any relevant social media outlets.
Or the podcast app of choice.
Oh, there are a lot of good ones. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Shaken Not Nerd.
So those are some great promos for some other podcasts. But Dave, I know that we just something that's hot off the press want to share with our listeners today. Do you want to take away and share something with us?
Well, yeah. So as of Monday, July 2nd, Star Wars on the official StarWars.com announced that the Star Wars Fan Awards 2018 was going to be coming to Celebration again. And I know that's... we talk about Star Wars fan films a lot because it is such a huge fan base, and there's a lot of creativity that goes into these fan films. And honestly, the fan film awards that they did last time, there's some pretty fantastic fan films that came out of that. So
definitely. So I'm going to be posting more information on all of my socials about this coming up in the next couple of days, especially. But what they've posted already is that they are looking for videos up to 5 minutes. Short videos for 15 seconds. I mean, that's got to be a really quick fan film right there. But they are going to have awards for best animation, best stop motion, best comedy, best choreography, best special effects.
But it has to be under 5 minutes.
Yes.
Oof.
There's an audience choice, a filmmaker select, and a Spirit of Freedom awards.
If I were to do a Star Wars fan film, it would be the cantina bartender, right? After the bar has closed, and
like the Golden Girls one, or the
no, not the one from the holiday special, not B. Arthur, the guy that Han Solo flicks a coin to and says sorry about the mess.
Yep,
that's exactly where I would start it. Right after Han Solo flips him the coin, but you don't actually see Harrison Ford. You just hear sorry about the mess, and the coin flicks, and the guy catches it, and then he just shakes his head and mutters. And then as the bar's closing, he's kicking everybody out, and all the ruffians are drunk and throwing up in the alley and stuff like that. He has to go clean up Ponda Baba's arm after everyone cut it off, and then he has to figure out what to do with Greedo's body
and scrub the chair behind the body and stuff. Yeah, no, I could see that pretty interesting. Almost like
one coin, one fucking coin. That's all he gave me, and I have to scrub this burnt bug off of this goddamn seat. Son of a bitch.
There we got an idea right there.
And the Wookiee left fur everywhere. Yeah. God damn it.
Is he molten? What's going on? But yeah, no, they've only just announced.
There you go. I just gave you an idea. Aspiring fan films, do that.
Just give us credit.
5 fingers. You'll get 5 fingers because it's my idea.
And their submissions actually open very soon, 18th of July. They are going through September. And the Fan Choice or Audience Choice Award voting does begin in November and runs through most of the month of November. So, again, there'll be more information coming up. Stay tuned. But what we would like to know is if there is anybody out there that's listening that is interested in being a part of this or is going to be a part of this, we'd love to know about your journey. We'd love to know what you're doing, and we'd love to be a part of it if possible by telling us what you're doing and how we can help you promote it and everything like that.
You can choose your level of involvement. Also, like if you can reach out to Rob, and Rob could do an interview with you because we do interview episodes here that are run by Rob. But then, if you wanted to, you could even write us emails, and we can just kind of keep listeners up to date on your fan film. Also, I know like the listener base isn't massive, but we can shed a little bit of a light on your fan film.
Yep.
Maybe get you a couple votes towards that viewer's choice one and stuff like that.
That's one of the goals that I've always said about the Fan Film Boys is we're not just here to talk about fan films. We're here to help promote fan films if we can.
Exactly.
I mean, if it helps you get those extra couple of votes that might be important in the long run, then we've done an awesome job. I mean, it's something we enjoy doing. We're going to keep doing the podcast, but anytime that we can speak with people and help somebody out, even better.
And if you want to make my fan film, I expect a story by credit for me and a producer credit for the Fan Film Boys podcast.
I like that idea. So you can find us at thefanfilmboys.com. That's my website, but you can also find us mainly on Podbean. We are www.fanfilmboys.podbean.com. We're on iTunes. We're on almost everything that's out there for podcasts. Please do rate and review if you get a chance so that people can help find us. We are in a big category of films, even though we are the only fan film podcast. So
you got to change it to hobbies, man. You got to change it.
I might do that. I mean, it's something different. I got to get out that films sort of section because there's just so many podcasts.
I've been in there with the Super Movie Brothers. Yeah. It's been a hard road just to get the listeners that we have now, and it's an even harder road to keep growing because it's just being in the TV film category. It's so large. Yeah, you really should be in lifestyle or hobbies.
Yeah, we'll look at getting that fixed. And And you can email us, like we were talking about before, fanfilmboys@gmail.com. And always remember that's boys with a Z. We are on Twitter, fanfilmboyspod, Instagram, fanfilmboys. And basically we try to put a lot up on there, a lot of our episode information, of course. But we do put a lot of information up there, like we talk about with the Fan Film Awards and stuff like that as well.
All right. And make sure everyone's going over to the Podfix Network website, www.podfixnetwork.com. You can find some of the stuff that Rob does on there. You can also find a link to his Big Shiny Robot articles, and you'll also find some of the movie cocktails that we do together on there as well as every other great Podfix show.
Excellent. Yes. So until next time, thanks for joining me, Dave.
Happy to be here.
And good night all.
This was a podcast from the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at oddfixnetwork.com.